Welcome to the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. My name is Angela Mondor, also known as the Geeky Girl. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about some amazing things to help you get over overgiving. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. My name is Angela Mondor, and I'm also known as the Geeky Girl. And today I have a really cool guest for you today. Kylie Marie is here, and she is about empowering families through mentorship and coaching, helping people find their dream homes, and she's passionate about making a difference. She's a high vibe mom of four and an accomplished author and speaker and a dedicated community leader. Thank you so much for being here, Kylie.
Thank you for having me. I am
How are you?
So excited. I'm really well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I would love to know, so how old are your children? You said you have four of them.
I do. And people are going to be surprised because my oldest is 14. And people are always like, what? So I have 14, 10, 7, and then I have an 18-month-old.
Wow, okay. Well, I have two. So I have a 25 and a 30. Yes.
Too. So yes, they're so fun. I absolutely love it. It's really wild being a mom of a teenager and we call her the baby, but
Yes.
a toddler.
Yeah. Huge difference.
Yes. So we go from middle school baseball games to a library story time in the same day sometimes.
I can see how that could be super challenging to be managing, not even just, the fact that you're having to take your mindset from one place to another, but you're managing different ages and stages in such a very real now moment. I can imagine that being a bit chaotic.
It can be, and that is why I always make sure that I fill my cup up as much as I can when I get the chance to, consistently, not when I get the chance to. I will say, I will correct that. I get the chance to often because I make time for it.
And what are some of the things that are most important for you that you do to fill your cup?
Self-growth is one of my biggest things. I love to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I can't tell you how many certifications I have on top of my degree. So that really is a really big one for me. And I know some people, that feels heavy, right? And they're like, oh man, to take on a new certification or something, but I really, really, really love it. And then day to day, I love to have my nails done. My nails are always done. And I know it sounds maybe silly to some people, but one, it always makes me feel put together. And if I feel put together, then I'm going to show up better, not just as myself, but for everyone else. And then, it's little things. It's little things. Like maybe I want to eat chocolate today for maybe as many times as I want, but it can be as little as that. Actually, whenever I go visit a new mom, after she's had her baby, or I always bring a gift and there's always chocolate in it. And I write in the card, eat the freaking chocolate, because as much as silly as it sounds, as small as the pieces of chocolate is, there's something about it, at least for me, that just, you spend that minute just savoring the flavor, I guess. If you're a chocolate lover, if you're not, choose, I don't know. My best friend really loves sour Skittles. So, she'll eat sour Skittles. So whatever you love, but there is something about just whatever it is that you really enjoy, taking that minute with yourself, for yourself. And so it's everything from as small as chocolate to going on a cruise without my kids.
Yes. And I think that, it's important for us to look after ourselves both with and without our children. I think that that's really important. It's something that my husband had a hard time with. He really didn't think that our kids should ever be away from us, and that we should always be, that we should never have anybody looking after them and stuff. And so we had some long discussions about that, but it's hard for him to do.
It's very common in the parenting world. So I also, do parenting coaching, and that is a big thing that we talk about. And in my parenting coaching, we kind of work backwards. And so it's very interesting, and it's very personal, and it's more about you than it is about your kids and about the situation even. But that is a very, very common thing that comes up. And it is something that I kind of help walk people through, because it's important for you to still have your sense of identity and also realize that you can have that and be a mom. So I've spanned 14 years of children, right? And it's very different. And there was times, it was, I think people say like, oh, I turned 30 and like, your life kind of changes a little bit. But I was 29. I woke up one day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that was actually when I went through my first divorce. And I went from being the mom that just, my kids were my world. I was that person all day, every day. I mean, I ate, slept, and breathed them. I still love them and adore them so much, but I woke up that day and I knew something had to change. And that was the day that I went and got a part-time serving job. So I actually am a real estate agent as well. You had mentioned that. And I've been doing that for 10 years, but I was like kind of like more part-time with it. And so I actually like woke up that day and I went and we started serving with one of my friends because it was like my getaway. I got to have conversations with other people, with adults and and all of that. And there's so much to be said when you feel that part of yourself and you honor yourself. You actually show up so much better for everyone else when you've shown up for yourself first.
Yes,
And that is
100%.
what this is all about.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like we talk about ages and stages where we are. And of course, my kids being adults now doesn't mean to say they don't take up the same kind of time that other kids do, because they do. But
No, I'm pretty sure that my mom didn't move into the same town as me because, and I tell her this, so it's okay, I can say this publicly. I told her, I said, Mom, I think that you just don't want to move here because you're afraid that I'm just going to be there every day.
yes, yes.
So she lives 45 minutes away because she knows I'm not going to drive 45 minutes every day.
Every day, yeah.
We still take up our parents' time as adults.
Of course, yeah. And it's an interesting concept. The world has changed a lot. I mean, I'm in a different, probably generation bracket than you as well. The way that we've seen the world change, right? So the definition of parenting in terms of, how, I don't mean the difference between like a helicopter parent versus, those kinds of things, but certainly being a parent now means you're parenting a lot longer time frame than our parents and your grandparents and your parents probably did, right? And so that changes the dynamic as well. I know that when my kids were younger, it was all about the kids and everything was about the kids. I mean, we had one daughter who played hockey who like sometimes she was on the ice 3 times a day. So like there was a lot of driving and hockey mom moments, right? So
Yeah, I had a hockey
obviously
player too.
okay, yeah.
We retired from hockey.
That's awesome. Mine's playing beer league now. So, things change, but at the same point, I think there's some changes that happen in your life too as a human. And, you talked about, turning 30 and you're like, whoa, hold on a second. Like some stuff's got to change here because stuff's different, right? I mean, I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD till I was in my 30s. Yeah. And so then you move in through, then you've got your ages and stages of your own life. And now, of course, my husband is probably retiring. The plan is he's retiring next year, which changes the dynamic again now, right? Because now my husband and I are building our life because our kids are grown-ups. And so it's interesting as we think about parenting, but how we were raised sort of plays into how we feel we should be parents, and then how that evolves after we become parents, and then you're a parent for a while, right? Like there's always this ebb and flow and change of parenting.
Yes. And I actually had a conversation with somebody. I was on a women's retreat, a working retreat, and we had a conversation about that, as her allowing herself to live through phases. And she was like, she's a parent to young children. And she was like, we get this mentality that sometimes like it's this way, it has to be this way forever. And she's starting to have these transitions in her life, like you've already been through. And she was like, oh, I get to live through phases. And I think as we get older, again, like you mentioned, you're likely in a different generation than I am. And as we get older, we see these changes and we see these phases. And now we get to live life in a different way, which maybe means we get to take care of ourselves more than we could before. But that's kind of how I had my first at 20. So I'm 34 now. But when I was 29, I remember I woke up and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I have to have a change, like energetically. I knew I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing, how I was doing it. And after plenty of self-work, I'm also a yoga instructor. So I had been through a year-long process to get that certification. And that, I think there was just like a lot of awakening in there. And I just shifted, on an energetic level. and was like, yeah, something's got to change. And it's living life through phases. And I honor that phase of my life and every other phase that I have been through and will go through. And it can be challenging, but it's really beautiful when people realize that it gets to be like that, that it gets to be these fun, different phases that you grow through and that you just get to experience yourself in different ways.
And I love the fact that you alluded earlier to like personal development and learning and growing, and all of those things give us really great insight into who we are as human being, but also we get to learn from other experiences while like other people while we're going through those growth moments. And to be able to look back and go, I'm not the same person I was yesterday, last week, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but to be able to look back and go, like you said, I honor that. I know where I was, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in knowing where I'm headed, right? To have an end in mind. This is where I'm headed. And I think that helps, especially when things start to change a little bit, to be able to go, okay, hold on a second. If this doesn't feel right, where am I headed? Am I headed in the direction that makes me feel good? Or do I need to shift? Like you said, like you're like, I need a shift.
Yeah. And I really believe, over the past few years, I believe that we need to make our decisions about anything in life, whether it's your job and you need to change, whether you don't feel that you are comfortable maybe, or just being a stay-at-home mom isn't the thing for you anymore. It's okay. Mom guilt is okay. We'll work through those things. And I work through those things with clients all the time, with clients and friends all the time. And I'm like, this is okay. This is a new phase of you. And you get to witness the previous phase. And then looking forward, you get to be like, okay. And and it's funny that you say you're like, I have the end game in mind. Just remember that it doesn't always have to go the way that you desire it to go. I actually don't. Someone asked me not too long ago, like what my 5-year plan or goal was. And I was like, I don't do that. Because I changed so much that if you would have asked me 5 years ago, if I would be where I am today, I would be like, actually, absolutely not. I would have been like, no.
Well, I can't guarantee that my end in mind today is the same as it was 5 years ago. That I can't guarantee. But every chance, so once a year at least, I go through and go, okay, am I heading in the right direction? But when things go sideways, which they ultimately do, then I get to check in and go, okay, this is where I think I'm headed. Like, do I feel right? Like, I mean, obviously, my husband retiring next year. We've been doing this trajectory for about 3 years, or well, 2 years now. And it was like 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, we were saying in 3 years, he's going to retire. What does that look like? And then we had to have a conversation as a couple. It's like, so here's the way I see it. How do you see it? Like, what do you need in retirement? And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, you need to stay busy because you just can't be at house all day. You need to stay active and engaged, right? You got to keep busy. And, it's like, here's the things I need, right? Like, I need to be near water. So either we're going to be near a big body of water, we're going to be by the ocean, whatever. I need trees. I need to get out of the city. So having those conversations when even like if it's not like here's my 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, but it's a trajectory. It's just like, this is what I think I want. And then at least when you make decisions, those decisions can line up against, oh, that's not going to fit with that model. Do I still want that model?
Yeah. And I would say it's moving out of excitement and joy.
Yes.
Or comfortability. And it's, that at the end of the day, you want to be happy in a location doing what you enjoy doing. And so I always tell people, like, let's start there. Let's make our decisions today, because every minute is a decision, right? Like when I got something to drink, I could have gotten a water or a soda, but what was it that I desired in that moment? And so my slogan, my tagline actually is, let's flip the script into the life that you desire. And so it's making decisions consciously every day that lead us towards that joy, which is the end result.
Yeah. It's, I think that it's a beautiful thing. And like I said, it changes, right? And you don't know whether or not the trajectory is 100% right. And I like to think of it more like a compass rather than a turn-by-turn GPS, right? Because you're going to fall off the side of the hill one day. You're going to go for a tumble. You might roll in some dirt and you have to get up and brush yourself off, right? But ultimately, then
you know what? Maybe I want to change,
Yeah.
You might have so many things too in it. And I think that that's like a really big, beautiful aspect of that. I really love to travel. And sometimes people look at me a little weird when I tell them, like, I've never taken my kids on a cruise. And it's very rare that I do like a big vacation with the kids. Like we do trips in our in the United States, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we'll go here or there, and it's very drivable. So we're very blessed to be in the location that we can be at the ocean in 8 hours, right? Or we can be in Nashville in 5. It's cool. But I fill my own cup up by doing those trips. I am taking my son next month on his first cruise, but that'll be the first time that I've taken my kids on a trip like that, because I always try to make sure that I do those things for me, and I'm not inducing more stress, but letting me and just
Well,
let.
anybody that has kids knows that whatever you're going to do, whether it's you're leaving the house to go to the park or you're leaving the house to go to Greece, it doesn't matter what that thing is. The minute you involve children, all things go out the window, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, the added stress, like some people are okay with adding that extra stress on their trips, and some people are like, you know what, I just don't need that right now. And it's okay to be
Yeah.
that, right? It's okay to say, hey, this is not for me, this isn't what I want it to be. And like, I always call it, I talk about guilt monsters a lot. And I
Yeah.
remember having these, I mean, as you know, with ADHD and being neurodivergent, our guilt monsters are, can be fun. But I remember being, I started my business and my kids were younger, and I had these guilt monsters. It was like, oh, I should be spending time with my kids when I was at work. And I was like, I should be at work when I was spending time with kids. So I kept shitting all over myself. And
Yes.
that really destroyed a lot of it. First of all, I wasn't present with my kids because I was so busy but worrying about work. I wasn't present at work because I was so worried about the kids. The biggest lesson I took was be present. And when I was with my kids, I was with my kids. And as much as you can, work doesn't exist, right? And vice versa. And I think that, that lesson alone was huge for me as a parent to be able to go, I need to take that time for me.
It is. It is. It's so big. And when I work with parents who do that consistently, it helps your relationship as well, because you can take your time for yourself, and then and you can take time together. But that doing it for yourself alone sometimes is very important. And there are people who I know who feel like they don't remember the last time they were alone, or they
Oh,
did
yeah.
And so it's very, very valuable to do that. I mean,
And they're learning to be able to be alone. Like I remember when I was younger and I'd be meeting somebody for coffee or a meal or something, and I would never go into the restaurant by myself because I didn't want people to think I was like a loser. I was alone, right? And that was sort of like that was the mindset at the time. Well, just I think it was last year, I think it was. We have a spa in town that's just unbelievable. And I had a really crazy busy week, and it was like bang, bang, bang. I had like a fundraiser that I had done, like a huge fundraiser that we'd done that week. Plus, my nephew was getting married. Plus, there was a whole bunch of things that I had done another back-to-back fundraiser before that. And I'm like, I'm going to the spa on Sunday. And then this woman's like, so well, who are you going with? I'm like, myself. She goes, you're going to the spa by yourself? I'm like, yeah, I get to spend as many hours as I want there, and everybody has to be quiet, and I'm alone. I'm in. To be able to spend time alone with yourself is so powerful.
it is. I think people are, well, and people are afraid to do that, and they're afraid to be the loner. There's also subconscious fear, I think, as well, of sitting with yourself. And because when you sit with yourself and you learn yourself more, there's a lot of growth that happens.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to, especially when they have kind of more chaos going on and they're so used to it, it's hard for them to sit with themselves and be by themselves and their own thoughts, especially depending on their level of self-awareness. And I love it. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. My kids go to their dads. We split them, so I spend a lot of time alone, and I've come to really love it. I love winding down at the end of the day, just in bed, okay, by myself with my little chihuahua. Sometimes I don't even want her in there. Sometimes I'm like, get out of the room, closing the door.
I need alone time.
Sometimes, I mean, it really is just nice in journaling, and you find so much of yourself there. You find so much of what you actually desire when you sit in those moments, and sometimes you see your shadow, and that's okay, and you get to work through those things. But I feel like there is a sense of sometimes fear of thoughts, and that we're going to start feeling things, right? So there's a lot to be said about it, but there's so much magic in that when you find a good balance. And you shouldn't be alone all the time. But it's like when we went on the girls retreat we did, it was held by my coach, right? So coaches have coaches too. And so we all did 2 hours together. And then we had like challenges and tasks that we had to do throughout the day. But I will tell you that on the task was go take a walk on the beach for 15 minutes. go take a nap or go relax, go read a book, sit in silence for 10 minutes was a task on there. And those are things that you're doing by yourself. And there were other things on the list, of course, to do with other people and collaborate. But she was very intentional that as you got down that list, and not that I followed through the list, I was all over the place, but not everyone's like that. But as you went through the list, you saw that she intentionally in pockets put one here, one there, because there's so much value in it.
Well, and the other piece to it, I think people are afraid of not necessarily the stillness, but also the concept of busy, right? Especially with neurodivergent people, we've had, especially if you're late diagnosed, because then early in life, you're like, why aren't you behaving the way the other kids are behaving? Or why can't you keep up with the other kids? Or why are you doing the things you're doing? So there's this other weight on you.
Why are you so hyper? Why don't you stop moving?
Yeah, right. Like, why do you keep daydreaming? Like all those things, right? So when you go alone, now all of a sudden, what do? And I'm the kind of ADHD that I need, like if the task I'm doing requires 10% of my energy, then I need something else to take up the other 90%. Right.
Sure.
So like if I'm working and the work is easy, then I need a TV show going in the background, or I need an audiobook playing, or I need something else happening around me that isn't going to distract me, but it's going to fill up that other gap. And so I think sometimes people think, oh God, I'm alone. So now all of a sudden, like, where do I have to do? But, like you said, there's journaling, right? Even if you're walking, you could be exploring your feelings and your thoughts as you're walking through the woods or down the beach or whatever. You can be, contemplative in those moments, right? So I think it's just learning a different way, because a lot of us have taught that, we don't do enough. And so if we're not constantly doing, then we're failing.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that, because people have a tendency to feel like they have to be working so hard to be successful and to make money. And I have friends who work a lot that are very busy. They love what they do. But there are times that, like, I'm just kind of like, oh, I got my nails done today, and I did this, and I have a lot of pockets of time sometimes. And I have to coach myself through some of those moments, because there might be times where I'm like, oh, like, I didn't do that much today. And they're like really, really busy. And they might think like, maybe I'm really not, I feel like maybe there's not as much value in me because I'm not so busy. And then I have to take that step back and witness myself in that. And so through some of my coaching programs, we really focus on taking that step back and witnessing our thoughts and not letting them become us. But we get to a point that we through self-awareness, that we can witness the thought, and then we can say, well, this is why I had that thought, because when I was a kid, or because of this or that. And so I have to still even coach myself through those moments, that it gets to be that great, that I do get to take care of myself whenever. And I still have a meeting or two throughout the day, right? And yesterday I was from 8 a.m. to, I don't think I got home until 10 p.m. busy. Okay. And then there's days where, like, I might have 2 or 3 meetings, and there might be days where I don't have any. And, there are days like that where I'm like, it's like a Tuesday. I should be working like so hard right now. And then I have to check myself, because the reality of it is you don't have to work yourself to the bone to be successful. And society does tell us that. And if we're neurodivergent, sometimes our brain tells us that, especially because it's like, let's do something, because I am complex ADHD and I am like a tornado sometimes. But I've really learned that there's just so much to be said in that, and that you really do get to take that step back, and it's good for you. And you're not a loser because you're not super busy that day. But there is so much in there. So, I guess people who are listening is, keep in mind that, yeah, hard work pays off is what they say, but also, like, you do get to take care of yourself and work and enjoy life. And it doesn't mean anything if you're not working 12 hours a day like someone else is. You still are just as valuable, if not even more so. I don't know what work you do, but that is something that I wish everybody understood.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that, especially if somebody has worked corporately and then they own their own business and they think, oh, I used to work 8 to 6 or whatever the case may be. And then you go, okay, but hold on a second. When you were working those hours, how many times did you walk by your neighbor's desk and stand and chat? How many times did you go to the bathroom? How many times did you walk by somebody's desk and chat or pick up the phone to chat with your neighbor? Like there's times when
Go
you're
on
not
your
working.
phone.
Yeah. Well, of course, there wasn't a lot of cell phones around when I was doing corporate stuff, but yeah, but that's true. I mean, there was some, but like the times that you took away, like you'd think that, oh, you were productive from 8 to 6, but you weren't. And the other side to it is that I know that as me as a human being, the way my brain works, I need to schedule my day in a certain way so that I'm giving my best at all times. And one of those things is I don't work Fridays. I mean, I don't work publicly on Fridays. I don't take meetings and, like there's those kinds of things that don't happen on Fridays. I still work. I work on the things that I want to work on.
Yeah,
And,
that you want to go
yeah,
to
right.
imagine.
I work on the things that are for my business. Rather than working in other people's businesses, I'm doing the things that are taking me down the rabbit holes that give me that brain floss that make me feel good. Like those are the things that I like to do on Fridays. And yeah, that's when I also schedule time to go do the things I have to do to, look after my body with my massage and chiro, physio, like all those kinds of things. I look after myself because I know that this body is important to look after because it is my vessel that's going to take me through the rest of my life. And when my body's in good condition, I'm in good condition. When I'm in a lot of pain, my brain does not work as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually have like a very routine day. It's like the kids get up, we eat, they get on the bus, I go to the gym. And I am at the gym pretty much every day by like 9. And like in my real estate world, everyone knows. My lenders, title companies I work with all the time, they know. They're like, she'll answer the phone, but if you need something from her on the computer, you have to wait until 11 o'clock.
Yes.
So I am kind of like if you don't work on Fridays, I generally don't start my day until 11. And my peak hours really are like 2 to 4. And that's where I'm like, I've eaten, I've showered, I'm a like midday shower because I have to go to the gym, and then I come home and I do a little bit of work. And then and a lot of people are like, it's the middle of the day. And I'm like, it's when I can fit it in. I have 4 kids. I need to do it later. And so, I have this routine. And when you learn yourself so well that you can create that routine, and then you notice like, oh wow, I like this. Or if maybe you're like, something's not working. So I used to have my peak time from like 11 to 1, and I just couldn't do it. Like there was something that I was missing the mark. And and so I flipped the script and I was like, okay, well, I need to make this day. What's going to feel better? Well, because when I get home from the gym, now I pivot it and it's at 2 o'clock because I can eat and take care of all these other things. And then I can shut my brain off into work.
Yes.
Right. And is it a little, taboo hour? Sure. But when we create the life that we desire, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if my peak hours are at 2 a.m. I'm still getting my work.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if your peak hours are between 11 and 1 and 9 and 10. Yeah. Right? Like if you have to split your hours, like go for it. I mean, we need to figure out what works for us, and with the ages and stages of where we are, lots of people my age are looking after aged parents. Their kids are grown, but now they're looking after aged parents, which is, there's those things to encompass as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah. I take care of my grandma as well. So
yeah, so like you got to find a way to choose yourself, right? To put yourself first so that you can fill your cup. I mean, it's like that whole thing, right? Put your oxygen mask on first, right?
And I preach that, and I know it sounds so like, I don't know, cliche, but it's so, so, so true. Like if you're on a plane and you don't have oxygen, you have to do that. Literally, like you have no choice because you can't breathe. And honestly, I feel like if we could all take the time to flip the script and look at our lives and our well-being and our mental health in that way, and then we're like, oh, so if I take care of myself, I'm going to have more capacity. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to be happier.
Yes.
So now I arrive as my kids get a happier mom now. My teams that I coach get a more involved coach because I'm taking care of my needs as well. And I'm just so freaking happy to be there. I
Yes.
love everything that I do. And that is also one thing of choosing yourself is do what you love. If you don't love your job, there's nothing wrong with changing. Choosing yourself. And then when you love what you do, you're showing up even better. And and like you said, people call me Superwoman a lot. And I'm like, well, I'm still waiting for that cake to come in the mail, and I wouldn't be running late or just getting there right in the nick of time if I had that cake. And and I always laugh about it. And they're like, I don't know how you do it. And I tell them it's because I do the things that I love. I move through life through enjoyment and what excites me. And when you do it that way, and I'm choosing myself, yeah, I'm working for people, I'm coaching and bringing my kids everywhere. But when you're moving through and doing things that you really enjoy, like your work, it's not work,
Yes.
that's different. And you're happy to be doing it. And I love doing everything. And even like coaching, my cheerleaders, like I said, like I show up more involved. Literally, they have a good game, they're cheering, and I let them do their tumbling passes, and they're like, do it, do it. And so then I go through and I'm doing like a one-handed cartwheel or something, who knows, like off the wall, I'll get up and do jumps with them, whatever it is. But I take care of myself and I have the energy to do it because I'm choosing myself first.
Yes.
And then I'm giving to everyone else. And it took me a long time. And so that's why I'm here telling all of, your friends, like, this is what you have to do. Trust me. Trust me. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And in the side that I originally came from, I was tired. I was sad. My mental health was not what it needed to be.
I guarantee you, if you live on that side, you'll be like I was, burnt out. I was so burnt out, I couldn't even get off the couch for 5 days.
Yeah.
All I could do was get my kids ready for school and pick them up after school, but I couldn't get off the couch. You don't want that, right? If you don't make time for yourself, then guess what? Something's going to make time for you, and it's going to be sickness. It's going to be mental illness. I mean, it'll take you down. So you're right. I mean, there's no bones about it. You have to look after yourself. You have to choose yourself, because otherwise somebody else is going to choose for you, and you're not going to like it.
And you're not going to like it. And you can't be upset with the outcome because you didn't put the energy into making the shift.
Well, you could be upset about it, but then make a change, right?
But you have to be upset more at yourself than you are to be. But and yeah, so like being upset about it could be the fuel that you need to make the change.
The catalyst to say, oh, wait a second, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, and that is something to be said about me. I generally do what I want to do. But I did it for the longest time. I was the oldest child. I was the oldest grandchild. I took care of everybody. I talked for my brother, and not just for a couple of days, for a couple of years. Like, distinctly remember being at Dairy Queen and getting in trouble because my mom asked him what ice cream he wanted. And I said he wants swirl with eyes. And she said, well, I didn't ask you. I asked him. And I said, I know. And I answered for him because that's what he wants. And I'm sure I got in trouble, but I distinctly remember my mom being like, no, but it's because I always looked after him. I knew what he wanted because we're only 3 years difference, but like I was still already like taking care of him as a kid, right? And as I got older, and like my next brother, my second brother, he was born when I was 10. And so then it was like a whole different level. I was helping. I was actually helping take care of him. So I've been taking care of people my whole life. So by the time my oldest son, who was 9, that's when I had that break where I was like, whoa, something has to shift because I've gone through it. And then it was like, as an adult, like I'm only 29 and I'm just like, something's not right. And I did so much self-growth. And I'm telling you, when you choose yourself, babe, it gets to be so much better. Like you said, there can be guilt. And I really aim towards women a lot because I do feel that we tend to be the caretakers. We tend to not take care of ourselves because we're nurturing. And that's a wonderful, great thing, but we need to be nurtured as well. And so I do tend to kind of aim towards women. I do tend to work more with women because we do tend to kind of be the ones who take on that load. But it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to delegate things. Like, I don't have time to clean my house in my busy season, so I hire someone. That's okay. But I've had people tell me, well, no, it's not, like, because they feel as if they have to be the ones to do it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's gonna, it's, well, I can't tell my friends that I said, yes, you can, because it's what you need. And so, it's like I tell people, hire the cleaner. Like if your car is a mess, I have 4 kids, my car's a mess all the time. Guess what's gonna happen in the spring? I'm not gonna clean it. I'm gonna go get it detailed and I'm gonna delegate that job to someone else because I don't like doing it. Not that I don't have time, but like I really don't like doing it. And so I'm going to delegate that job to somebody else. So that way I at least have a tidy car, right?
Right.
It's just little things from cleaning the house or doing that, and even to like bigger things, and if it's at work, maybe you need to delegate a task or a project to somebody else. With my work as in my real estate side more heavily, I don't really love paperwork. Like the filing, the keeping track of everything. I love working with clients. I can put together an amazing offer. I can win. I've gotten people $100,000 over what they were offered from a corporation to buy their land. And I've gotten people $200,000 off of land. Okay. I love what I do and I'm good at it, but the backside, I'm not. And it is
Right.
part of the job, but guess what? I delegate it to somebody who loves to do that and hates to work with the people. Okay.
Exactly.
There is a perfect balance out there. You just have to find those people, and they're out there, and they want to do that. So I delegate the paperwork to my assistant, and that does stretch through other parts of my life as well. And in my coaching company, she kind of is like, she's the gatekeeper. She's on the backside. I'm out here working with the people. I'll get on the stages. I'll do all of that. But she's making sure that the wheels are greased. But I've delegated that because I know that if I have to take all of that on, I'm not going to have the capacity for everything. And it's going to stress me out. I'm not going to show up as vibrant.
Exactly. Yes. It's all about knowing what we're best at, right? Celebrating that, really just like going all in on what we're really good at. And the delegation is beautiful. I love delegation. It's one of my favorite things.
And we get to do it. It's totally okay.
Yeah,
totally. I'm giving you permission.
Yeah. So tell everybody where they can find you. How can they connect with you in another way?
Absolutely. So I am very active on social. So you can find me on social. So the Kylie Marie on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you find me on my personal page, follow me. I don't know that you can add me as a friend, but you're welcome to follow me because I do share a lot on my personal page too. And then I also have a website, thekylieMarie.com. But if you jump into my socials, you'll get more of this like more intimate, more personal connection. And I do drop a lot of kind of like freebies on my like Instagram and my Facebook. So sometimes I'll throw something out for the day, or I'll do a little discount or something like that. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. And I'm trying to be more active on that one. Those would be the best places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure that all of those links are down in the show notes as well. And it's been super awesome speaking to you today. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just been so great chatting with you. We bond so well.
It's been an awesome conversation. And thank you for being part of the podcast. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for being here and for listening to everything that Kylie and I had to say, because we had a lot of things to cover. So thank you so much. Please come again, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. Your support means the world to me. You can find show notes for this episode and other goodies at overgiversanonymous.ca. And if you enjoyed this episode or you enjoyed the podcast in general, why not join us in the Overgivers Anonymous Facebook group, where you can connect with overgivers from all over the world. Head on over to geekygirl.ca/group.